Good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch. Tuesday morning, September the 17th at 7 a.m., and it's just starting to get a little brighter. Welcome. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch, and of course, drink it if you got it. Something about a cup of coffee in the morning. I'm going to try to go to Sam's Club this morning and get some oddball stuff and look for some bargains. I got to run out of chicken wings. I get some baby back ribs. Hopefully they got some beef marked down. I haven't been to Sam's Club in about 2 weeks since I bought that ginormous box of eggs, which I'm still eating on. I have gone through quite a bit of bacon, so maybe I'll stock up on some bacon, although I still have plenty in my freezer. And that's pretty much the extent of my food inventory management. Living this carnivore lifestyle, it is the easiest thing in the world. I've got to keep track of 5, 6, 7 different food items. And there's never any imperative to get to the store because I've run out of one of the hundreds of different things that I found, or at least I thought that I couldn't live without. In the way of a channel announcement, we have, of course, our meetup in Tampa a week from today. Next Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. at the Terra Gaucho Brazilian Steakhouse on Dale Mabry. I'll be putting out a couple of posts with some directions and map details and things like that. But we really, really, really hope that you will RSVP to my email address, which is oldguycarnivore@gmail.com. I'll put it up on the screen here, oldguycarnivore@gmail.com. Please let us know if you're going to be coming so we can try to get a close count for the restaurant so they know which of the rooms that we're going to need. I'd like to have that by the end of the day, and I'm going to talk about it a little more on my live stream tonight. So don't forget that as well. 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Going to have my Tuesday evening live stream. Always fun. Always great to see you guys. I got a couple of interesting comments yesterday. One of them was, without a doubt, the most amazing compliment I have ever gotten. And I don't expect you to agree with everything it says, but I got to tell you, you get a compliment like this, you are flattered. It took my husband and I being carnivore for 3 years to stop our carb addictions, but only after discovering you in early 2024. We kept falling off the wagon until we found you. Thank you. You surpass Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Eric Westman, Dr. Sives, and all the rest of the heavyweights whom we all adore and still watch. But you're like an ancient Greek philosopher of carnivore, and you make doing this way of eating so simple. Thank you. I dropped my jaw. And my first impression was to say, well, you got one thing right, the ancient part. But I'm not going to mention any names, but thank you so much for that. To say that that was more than flattering is an understatement. I did answer, that may be the best compliment I have ever received. So Honestly, thank you. Thank you for that. Amazing. On these morning things, I usually go off on some topic. Yesterday, the topic was basically stringing and increasing the length of time or the number of iterations of something that is a win. Is a win. And we talked about the number of days accident free in a workplace, the number of games won in a row in any sport. We have these kinds of keeping score for basically everything that we do. I talked about my buddy in the drone business, Ken Herron, never missing a Tuesday night. There have been many, many, many times along my carnivore journey where I had thought about just this once, maybe just eat one blueberry. That was much easier to think about if I had only been doing this for 2 or 3 weeks or a month. Because, all right, I'll start over, no big deal. I've only got 6 weeks invested, 2 weeks invested. More likely, so many days invested. But I will tell you, it is a mindset thing that the more you have invested in anything, the less likely you are to give it up for pride, for bragging rights, for whatever reason floats your boat. The longer, believe it or not, and this is what happened to me, the longer that you know, and it even doesn't matter if anybody else knows, you'll know. The longer that you know you have stuck faithfully to avoiding the carbs, eating the fat, you'll know it because of the physical improvements. You'll know it because even if you're focusing on it or not, you will lose the weight if you've got it to lose. It will be harder and harder to cheat, to go off of it. It will become harder and harder because you now have an investment in getting to the point where you are. And it becomes, if you're like most people, more and more important not to have to go back to square one, not to have to turn in your 6-month chit for a 1-day chit, even if it's only in your own mind and even if nobody else knows about it. And I'm proud, just proud of myself when I say I haven't eaten a gram of carbohydrate in 2 years plus. I'm proud of it. I wouldn't dare unless I had a compelling reason. Why would I? Even if I knew I could eat that and it would not lead to binging or sabotage of this lifestyle for me. Even if I was like these mildly carb addicted people who can successfully do keto, who can eat a little cup of blueberries and walk away, who can eat one cookie and put the box away for another day. When I talk about carb addiction and the things that I had to do and the things that the writer of this compliment had to do, I am talking Not to everybody. You know who you are. When I tell you that making those keto treats will sabotage you, you know who you are. It's not everybody. So let me clear up a few things about that. Let me clear up a few things. The rules are different depending on the severity of your addiction. I thought that might have been obvious, since every other word out of my mouth when I'm talking about carb addiction is, if you're a severe carb addict, then this. If you're a severe carb addict, then that. If you're a severe carb addict, then that. If you're I've said that until I'm blue in the face. One of two things is happening. Either you've never watched more than 5 minutes of anything I've ever done and you never heard me. Okay, I can understand that. Everybody clicks off of these things. And that's fine. That's fine. This is not required watching. But please don't write me books in the comments telling me why I'm wrong about those things, and why I'm wrong because you don't fit into the pattern of the person that I'm talking about, and you have never watched enough of any of my videos or watched any of my videos to hear me say 1,000 times, if you're a severe carb addict, then. If you're not a carb addict, this of course doesn't apply to you. Please, I'm big on research. You don't need to do too much research. You just need to watch 5 or 10 minutes of a video of mine and you'll hear these things, and then you won't waste your time writing pages of comments correcting me and giving me every freaking example under the sun why I'm wrong. And you won't waste my time trying to give you the courtesy of reading what you wrote. That's all. That's all. If you feel the need to correct me, I'll tell you what. If you think I'm wrong, just don't watch. You're not going to change me, and you're not going to change my mind, not after 77 years. But there's not a lot of those comments, but I do get them. I got one yesterday. Here we are talking about comments again. And the comment was an entire page on my cell phone, of course, of fine print. And this person felt it necessary to tell me how stupid and wrong I was. And I can understand somebody saying, well, you do know that meat and eggs do contain trace amounts of carbs. Because I do know that. And my friend, again, if you had watched more than 2 minutes of maybe one of my videos before you thought that it was necessary to write a novella telling me how ignorant I am and that I should know that if I'm going to be giving advice to people, and insulting my intelligence and my research and my knowledge without having ever heard what I had to say or knowing me, you would not have written educating me to the fact that I'm ignorant because eggs contain carbohydrates, meat contains carbohydrates, when in pretty much every one of my videos, I take the time which makes you click away because you don't have more than 10 seconds to watch before you get bored. Well, that's not most of my regular viewers, but the kind of people that write those comments. And take me to school on how and why meat and eggs contain small amounts of carbs, when in every one of my videos I say, we don't count the trace amount of carbs that come in eggs and meat. All eggs and meat have trace amounts of carbs. I don't count those when I say I haven't eaten a carbohydrate. I mean I haven't eaten a piece of fruit, a vegetable, a sugary drink, a sweet tasting thing. But we do get traces of carbs in everything. I say that I sometimes get a carb or two when I go to lunch at a restaurant with my son because there may be a spice or a rub in there. I don't count those things. I count intentionally eaten carbohydrate, and we all do the best we can to avoid it. I have said that hundreds of times in all my videos. I make it very clear because I want you to not worry about the carbohydrates in eggs. I want you to eat the eggs. So quit wasting your time and my time reading these long comments and your time trying to educate this dumbass here who knows nothing and shouldn't be on YouTube acting like he knows something. And I got to tell you, my friends, I can't waste my time reading it. As soon as I get the inkling, believe me, from here on out, as soon as I get the inkling that you're out to educate me, and it's obvious that you haven't even listened to more than 3 minutes of what I said, I hide you from my channel and hopefully never hear from you again. Shame on me for wasting the time that I wasted reading your comment. I have as little time for that as you have to actually watch something and know what you're talking about before you start insulting its creator. And these videos are my creations, and I take them personally, and those of you who know me can understand why I get a little miffed at this, because I take great pride in doing everything I can to give good advice and be right. And the basis for all my advice is basically, it worked for me. That's all I can tell you. It worked for me. And here's why I think it worked for me. After a lifetime of failures, the same failures that you keep experiencing too. If you're not a severe carbohydrate addict, and we talk about this, and I guess because of so many misunderstandings, I have to keep repeating it and hammering this point home. And I always use alcoholism as an example for why abstinence is the only way for a severe addict. But not everybody is a severe alcoholic. In fact, the severity of alcoholism in numbers pales in comparison to the severity of raging carb addicts. I profess, for most people, it's much easier to drink in moderation. Many people drink in moderation. In fact, I think more people drink in moderation than people drink in excess. It's simply not as addictive as sugar. I think it takes a long time to identify yourself as an alcoholic, admit that you have a problem, and it usually takes a disaster or a catastrophe of losing everything, alienating everybody, having car accidents, getting thrown in jail for DWI. It takes a rude awakening. We don't get that kind of a rude awakening with carb addiction. It takes 30, 40 years before the serious consequences of the sugar poisoning and the seed oil poisoning, the overweight, the obesity, the diabetes, it takes years for that to set in. And even then, we don't want to accept it. But there is such a higher percentage of raging carb addicts. I think it's over 80% of the people in this country. Drug addiction, alcohol addiction, don't come anywhere near that percentage. Not only do we have to recognize carb addiction, but we have to treat it as the big problem that it is. And more of us need to be talking about this on a daily basis. acknowledging the problem, educating people on how big a problem it is. We certainly have enough examples of it when we look around in society. I'm going to go into a mobility scooter business to make my fortune when I grow up, if things keep going like it's going. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to get the wrong idea, because I tell you that keto is not the way. And when I say that, I qualify it again, unless you're not a raging carb addict. Keto is great. It works great. If you can put the box of cookies down after one cookie, if you can not head back for a second helping of anything with sugar in it, if you're one of those lucky people, and I made a joke yesterday, I said maybe you're not that lucky because you might be an alcoholic or a drug addict. Not all of us are addicted to everything. Again, this doesn't apply to all of my regulars. You guys are great. You know I love you. Part of the price we pay on YouTube is that YouTube does push this out to some people who don't know us. And some of those are very quick to find fault with everybody. They're miserable people. And believe me, I understand that. This gives me, when I talk about these comments, an opportunity to make sure my position and my thoughts are very clear to everybody. And that does apply to all of you who watch these things every day and tell me how much you enjoy it. So, you can't hear this often enough. I hope ranting a little bit is entertaining. Somebody said that's my shtick. It is. Got to do something on these. If I want to come on here every morning and talk, I got to talk about something. So, my friends, think about what I said. Think about the string of wins that you've put together to this point. I don't care if it's 7 days, 30 days, 2 months, before you succumb to any thoughts of putting that sugar in your mouth, those carbs in your mouth, going back to square one. Think about your investment so far. And believe me, the more that investment is, the more you're likely to not succumb, as long as you keep in your mind and be proud of the fact, as I'm proud of the 2+ years. And again, if you're not a severe carb addict and you can moderate, then never mind. Take the rest of the day off, my friends, and eat meat.